So I've been sinking some time into nightreign, and honestly, it's one of those games that immediately grabs you with its atmosphere. Dark, brooding, and a little mysterious. It really leans into that gothic fantasy vibe. Today I want to break down my experience with it, covering the gameplay, the atmosphere, progression, and of course, a few issues I ran into along the way. If you've been wondering whether this game is worth picking up, stick around. Let's start with the gameplay. The core loop is pretty straightforward, but surprisingly addicting. You'll spend most of your time fighting enemies. The combat system feels deliberate. Every swing, block, and dodge matters. It's not button-mashy. You have to commit to your actions, which makes every encounter tense. What really stands out to me is the enemy variety. You'll face off against smaller mobs that test your reflexes and timing, but also bigger, more intimidating creatures that force you to slow down and think strategically. The difficulty can be punishing at times, but I think that's part of the appeal. When you finally take down an enemy that was giving you trouble, it's incredibly satisfying. What really stands out to me is the enemy variety. You'll face off against smaller mobs that test your reflexes and timing, but also bigger, more intimidating creatures that force you to slow down and think strategically. The difficulty can be punishing at times, but I think that's part of the appeal. When you finally take down an enemy that was giving you trouble, it's incredibly satisfying.
Now, the atmosphere is hands down one of nightreign's strongest points. Everything from the art direction to the sound design works together to create this tense, immersive world. The environments are dark and oppressive, but in a way that feels intentional rather than just gloomy. The lighting, the subtle environmental sounds, even the distant growls you hear, all keep you on edge. It's not the flashiest game graphically, but the style does a lot of heavy lifting. It has this gritty, handcrafted look that makes each area feel distinct and memorable. The soundtrack also deserves a shout-out. It's haunting without being overbearing, and it fits the mood perfectly.
In terms of progression, there's enough here to keep you coming back. You're always working towards something, whether it's better gear, new abilities, or unlocking areas that were previously out of reach. I like that sense of steady growth. It gives you a reason to keep exploring and pushing forward. Replay value is surprisingly solid, too. Depending on how you build your character or the choices you make, your experience can change quite a bit. So if you're the type of player who enjoys experimenting with different playstyles, nightreign definitely rewards that. Of course, the game isn't perfect. I ran into a few rough edges, some technical hiccups here and there, and certain parts of the pacing felt a bit uneven. There are moments where the difficulty spikes hard out of nowhere, and while I don't mind a challenge, I can see that being frustrating for some players. The UI could also use a little polish. It works, but it isn't the most intuitive.
Overall, nightreign is a really strong experience if you're into dark, atmospheric action RPGs. It's not the kind of game that's going to hold your hand, but if you enjoy tense combat, moody exploration, and a world that constantly keeps you on edge, it's worth diving into. Personally, I've had a great time with it, and while it's not flawless, the highs definitely outweigh the lows. If you're looking for something that blends challenge with atmosphere, nightreign is a game I'd recommend.